Are you ready to party, people? Are you ready to give all that you have to the soul of Doctor Who? Are you ready to hear from Susan Lee and the editor, one of the editors of the Doctor Who Titan Comics series? Are you ready to handle me for an hour and a half? Well, quite frankly, that might be the most difficult one of all, because it's time for Doctor Who Legacy Live. Apparently the music is very, very loud, which I wasn't expecting to happen when I went across to the other side. Let me change that so I can hear myself speak. Otherwise, it's just going to be me going for most of the stream. There we go. Ah, yes, music down to a sustainable level. It is incredibly hot here, ladies and gentlemen, so if I look slightly more glowy than usual, slightly more sparkly, obviously it's glitter, but it's also the temperature. The windows are open, the fans are blowing, the computer is huffing and puffing, but it is bloody warm, and being British, as I am, we don't cope well with extremes of temperature. You know, just give me loads of snow and I'm screwed, give me loads of sun and I'm screwed, give me intense storms and I'm screwed, give me an incredibly sunny beach and I'm screwed, give me an Arctic tundra and I'm screwed. Just give me give me mediocrity. That's what British people excel in. A little bit of averageness, mediocrity, tepid is how we like it. But that's not how I've got it today. So if I have to sip a little more than usual, and if I glow a little more than perhaps I should, that is why. Because British and hot weather do not mix. We have a very, very, very exciting show tonight, because quite frankly I'm here, and that makes every show exciting, but it's extra exciting because we're playing Doctor Who Legacy, and Susan is going to be joining us in a minute, and then a guy called Andrew James who is going to be joining us, who is well and truly involved in the Doctor Who comic series. We're going to be speaking to him and chatting to him and asking about stuff, and it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are now live out on Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. So if you could retweet the fact that we're out, that would be very, 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 very kind of you. You should see a little text from Doctor Who Legacy saying join the TheAdiposeTV and Doctor Who Legacy, blah, 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 blah. If you could retweet that to your friends and your relatives, and maybe call some elderly people that you know and say, hey, did you know that Addy's online? When they say, what? Sorry, I can't hear you. Write it down on something and get a carrier pigeon and send that to them so they can read it. And then when they say, hey, what's that? It's quite small. Then go and visit them in your car and tell them about the stream face to face. And you'll be bonding with your family and you'll be telling them about the show. So good things all around. I'm just going to, give myself just a little more tan. I'm looking a little bit purple there, which is good. Now let's open the old Volty Pop. So there we go. Whoosh. So you guys are earning 1 Addy Gold every 5 minutes, and making yourselves richer in your wildest imaginary dreams. Let's see where we're at. We've got loads of things to talk about and reminders to do about Addy and stuff like that, but we'll do that once we get the show on the road. So let's welcome Susan to our little show, shall we? Let's give her a little call and say, hey, yo, Susan. Can we have a suitable TheAdiposeTV posse welcome for Susan, please? I want to see tears rolling down your faces. I want to see cheering in the chat. I want to see her name being chanted out loud.
I want that too.
We all want that. We so want that. I didn't get it. I was hoping for it, but I didn't get it. But maybe now you will.
I'm sad.
Maybe now you'll get one completely spontaneously.
Even like
with
one
no
little
incitement
huzzah,
from myself.
you know?
A little huzzah would be quite cool. Now I am going to change my little. I've got Van Gogh on the screen here, but of course Van Gogh is a little bit out of date now. We need to put another little lass up there, don't we? Because I hear that someone has joined the game that you have been waiting to put in for a very, very long time. Why don't you tell us all about it?
Rose Tyler. I can't tell you. It was like 2 days, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I got a note from our producer at the BBC who basically said, "Oh, by the way, Billy Piper's on board." That's like, wait, by the way, what? That's huge
By
news.
the way? By the way, what? Just in case we didn't care?
Because I know you didn't care, and I really weren't waiting on that or anything. No, I love Peter, but it kind of came out that way in an email. I'm like, holy shit. So yeah,
your cheers and your praise are rattling around the chat as we speak. I hope you can see them.
I do. I feel much better now.
Now I need to ask you a very important and serious question that we all need to know the answer to. Are you more excited that Rose is in the game, or are you more excited that people will no longer be emailing you and asking when Rose is coming in the game?
That is a toss-up, I have to say.
Well, which side are you going to come down on?
You know, if only we would sort out Tom Baker and Donna Noble, my life would be so much easier.
Then no one would email you.
Exactly. Life would get boring then.
In a year's time, yeah, sitting by the email going, no one will message me. Why did we put them in the game?
Well, it's funny. Cherie is now our official first, fan community moderator on Facebook, and she's awesome. She's not here today, actually. Yeah. She couldn't be here for Twitch. But we'll forgive her for that. She emailed me yesterday and said, is there any way we could get like a sticky post at the top of Facebook about all the questions that people ask over and over and over again? So I put a big note. So I was like, ooh, I could do notes on Facebook. So I've done a note. And the note has all the questions that people like to ask over and over and over again. And if I'm missing any, just let me know.
We'll talk more about Rose a little bit later on, because obviously this is a pretty big thing. But in about a minute's time, we're going to speak to a guy called Andrew James. So why don't you tell me and tell everyone who's Andrew James?
So Andrew's the editor of I think it's 3 comic book series that Titan's got coming. Now that they've taken over the rights to the Doctor Who comic book series, and we love the company generally. Titan is part of the same company that's Forbidden Planet, and Forbidden Planet's been a supporter of ours since day one. They were giving out promo codes in the stores and stuff. So those guys have been awesome to deal with, and we love the Titan guys too. And when we found out they had the rights, we started talking, and we all realized that we love what they do and they love what we do, and we wanted to do stuff together. So as we've started to mention, and is going to be officially announced, I think today, we've got stuff coming in Doctor Who Legacy with the Titan Comics guys, and we couldn't be more excited about that.
Fantastic. Well, let's bring Andrew into the call to join us, or add him to our group call. Have you spoken to him before?
Yes, I have. He and Ricky, their marketing guy, they've both been great to deal with.
Cool. Let's bring him in, guys. If we could have a suitably loud posse welcome, that would be fantastic. Hey, Andrew, are you there?
I am. Hello.
Greetings and welcome to Doctor Who Legacy Live here on Twitch TV/TheAdiposeTV. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a chat next to the live stream where loads of people.
I've got it open.
You've got it open, cool. So you'll see what everyone's got to say there. We're going to be speaking to Andrew now for a little while, and if you guys have got any questions that you'd like to put to him, put ~ question and then your question, and I'll be able to put them up on the screen if your question is particularly awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Susan's just given us a little bit of an introduction to kind of who you are and how you're involved with kind of Doctor Who and Doctor Who Legacy, but why don't you kind of explain in your own words kind of who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm the editor of the Doctor Who comics line at Titan, as Susan said, so I'm in charge of making sure the trains all run on time and that the scripts all come in and get approved by the BBC and go out to print on time. So we're currently less than a week away from launching our new #1s next Wednesday, the 23rd. So we'll be launching the 10th Doctor #1 and the 11th Doctor #1 next week.
When you say #1, do you mean the first episode of a series?
Yes, the first issue, and they're both ongoing series. They both got 15 issues a year, so we actually start with a sort of accelerated schedule. So I think between issues sort of 3 and 7, they're coming out roughly 3 weekly. So we couldn't wait to give you the story. So there's more than you'd expect.
So when you say you're the editor, does that mean so that's obviously not a kind of artist? You're kind of like the organizer. Would that be a kind of a way of describing it, or like how does your kind of role work creatively and things like that?
Well, it's the beautiful thing about Titan is that editors have a broad role as well. So. I mean, I have a bit of an artistic background, but, you know, degree in English literature and that kind of thing sets you up for nothing in the real world aside from editing, basically.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah, university, you get your qualification and then you have to go and train for your real job.
Exactly. So my job is really everything from putting together the creative teams, which can be, you know, you start with a wish list of people you'd really like to be on the series, and I'm happy to say that everyone on our wish list said yes when we approached them to start these ongoing. So that was very exciting. And then from there, it's things like you're asking those creators to come up with pitches for stories, developing those plots, editing the scripts when they come in before they go out to the BBC. So, you know, making sure the Doctor's voice is correct. And some of my job is also coming down with knowing 50 years of Doctor Who continuity. I can't say I'm an absolute expert yet, but I know the comics and I know lots and lots about the TV show. So some of it is saying, well, we could do that, but they did something very similar in 1977. So why don't we take this a slightly different route? And then from there, it's things like, you know, recruiting the artists and making sure that their Doctor likenesses are right and any other characters. Again, before they go off to approval, and making sure that the pencils and inks are coming in on time and going out to the colorists if they're a different team, getting the books lettered, and yeah, making the trains run on time and making sure everything goes to production and to the printer in time to make it into stores.
Susan tells us that she spends quite a lot. Who's still with us, by the way? Hey, Susan.
I am still here. Yes.
She's still here. Susan tells us she spends quite a lot of her time kind of getting approval for, or Lee especially often talks about getting approval for the stories they want to run. Is that kind of a bigger part of your job as well? Like, do you kind of have to get these, do you have ideas for the stories and then have to kind of get them kind of approved?
Oh, yes. The BBC are heavily involved in everything we do, obviously. So we have a fantastic script approvals person who's one of the script editors on the show, or has moved on to Wizards vs. Aliens now. So we run plots past them, so they approve the plots, and then we develop them with scripts, and again they get approved and make comments and notes and that kind of thing. And then there's a separate art approvals team, which is someone in the BBC head office, and also the actual producers of the TV show look over everything that we do to make sure it's in line with A, what they're doing on the show, and B, also to make sure that the likenesses, which are really important, that they look like the Doctors, that they capture the attitude of the Doctors in each different era. So yeah, I wouldn't say I spend a massive amount of time on the approvals, but everything's going through approvals. We have a wonderful approvals team down there and a great relationship with them. So, but it's always a fantastic feeling when you get something approved with no changes. It goes through, and you know, they say how much they enjoy it or love the artwork or that kind of thing. It's you know, they're almost the first line of defense for the audience, really. So if we can impress them, we know that the reader's going to be happy.
You got a good series. Yeah. Did you get involved with Titan and then start to work on Doctor Who, or did you want to get involved with Doctor Who and then ended up working for Titan, or was it a little bit of both, or how did that work?
I'm coming up on my 10th year at Titan, about my 7th or maybe 8th job title. I started off in the books department as a web and press assistant, so I've had a number of different jobs, but I've been in the comics department about 6 years now. So about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we started making a concerted push into the US comics market. So originator titles, create our own series. And from there, I mean, we did our big launch in San Diego last year in July. We've got a load of create our own series out. But when we found out that we were able to pitch for the Doctor Who series, that was something I really threw myself into. I mean, I love the process of pitching, the sort of blue sky thinking phase where everything's up for grabs and you can, you know, shape a whole publishing line without having to worry about such tawdry things as budget or deadlines. So I really enjoyed that. But I also
welcome to Susan's world.
But I love Doctor Who, so it was a fantastic opportunity to kind of you know, work out what we would do differently, and work out how we could tell longer form, ongoing stories that could really capture fan imaginations.
And so I have to confess, I've read comic books, but I haven't read the Doctor Who comic books. So sell me on them. Why should I pick up a Doctor Who comic book?
Well, the Doctor Who comics that are coming out next week are the perfect ground level comics. If you've never read a comic book before, if you love the Doctor and just want to see continued stories,
I think my limit was about Asterix, so you'll need to.
These are the perfect titles for you. We give everything you need, even if you're not a massive Doctor Who fan. If you're just interested by the art and you want to find out what the fuss is about, you open it up. The first page gives you a summary of what the Doctor is, what the TARDIS is, what the Sonic Screwdriver is, and his most recent adventures. Go! So page 1, it's a brand new start. And we've also got 2 brand new companions, 1 per Doctor. So Gabriela Gabby Gonzalez is joining the 10th Doctor, and Alice Obafune is joining the 11th Doctor. So again, And personally, for me, a lot of the adventure and the arc of a Doctor Who series is shaped by the companions. So it was really important to us that we started a new era with brand new companions. They slot perfectly into continuity, and we can explicitly state which episodes they take place between. But we found
that was my immediate question that came to my mind. So there's a point that kind of like, so it would be between series 3 and series 4, or that kind of idea, is it?
Yes. So the 10th Doctor series takes place roughly after Planet of the Dead, when he's traveling alone after losing Donna, essentially, before he comes back to Earth. So
right at the end of his tenure,
exactly.
Basically.
But there's that sort of nebulous period where we don't quite know exactly how long he's been traveling for. So the series slots in there.
So I suppose that part of the 10th Doctor's life is a bit of a gift for you, isn't it? Because that's probably the vaguest part that he has.
Exactly. So it's finding places within the canon where we can pay homage to what the TV series is and pick up all the parts that we want, but also have a clean route to tell something new, essentially. So it's all about the trouble with licensed comics sometimes is obviously that if you're telling a story in which you know how a companion or Doctor exits, then how do you surprise them? How do you threaten them adequately? How do you suggest that maybe they're not going to make it out of this adventure alive? So having new characters that we can grow to love, put it to danger.
Characters that you can kill off.
Your words, not mine. But yes, it's that kind of the feeling that we could kill them off. We don't want to, because I absolutely adore these new companions. But there's that frisson of danger that's brought to every adventure by not knowing how their stories end. And for the 11th Doctor, the story Dinosaurs on a Spaceship was actually a real gift to us, in terms of that it shows that the Doctor, away from Amy and Rory during their tenure, does go away and sometimes just pick up new companions for an adventure or an extended period while he's letting them get on with their married life. So there's that period of continuity where Amy and Rory are still around. He's very much still part of the Pond family, but he's giving them space to become more mature adults. We've seen their life grow and change. So these are sort of side adventures that are taking place around then. It's roughly in that sort of, again, nebulous period of continuity between sort of the end of Series 5 and the beginning of Series 6, post-wedding, post-honeymoon, but we know that the end of Series 6 is basically the beginning, as everything goes back in an Ouroboros loop. So it's in that
Ouroboros.
Yes, I can't say it either. But
that's a word. That is a word. Mad Harris with the box, I'm just putting this up on the screen here, asks, can we subscribe to these comics? So are these the kind of comic I go and find from my newsagents, or are they online distribution, or a bit of both?
Well, they're not on the newsstand yet, but you can subscribe to them direct from our website, which is titan-comics.com. You can actually get one of our Titans figures as part of the subscription there, which is a nice deal. You can also, if you've got a favourite local comic store, go in and request they add you to your subscription list there. And we actually have exclusive subscription or pull list covers for customers and readers who do that. So there's a nice incentive for you to go into your local comic store and support them there too. But yes,
there you go. I've put a link to the site up on the screen. So, I mean, can I read them on things like my iPad and things like that? Or?
Yes, if you want to buy them digitally, you can buy them from Comixology, and they're available now to pre-order. So you'll get them delivered to your iPad or other device that Comixology supports. So they do Android and PC, Mac as well. As soon as they're made available next Wednesday.
And how did you end up working with Susan and Doctor Who Legacy? What's the kind of the link there?
Well, I've been playing the game since it came out, so I think we reached out and said, let's do something together, or let's, what can we do about this? So it was just it's a fantastic game. It obviously has a huge fan community, hugely engaged fan community as well. So it was just an opportunity to do some cool stuff together, I hope.
And obviously, Lee's plot lines are incredibly inspirational in Doctor Who Legacy. Will you be ripping them off for a comic book anytime soon? So you play the game. So are you good? Are you through? Where are you up to?
I'm intermediate. I played a load over Christmas and occasionally in the last couple of months, but obviously things have been crazy on the deadline front as we work up to the launch to San Diego. So I've got a first team which are up to level 40. They're okay, but I keep hitting tough nut levels on Series 6, so I haven't quite managed to crack Series 5 yet.
There are some tough ones coming. There are some tough ones there. Let's see. Henwar says, "Can we get the comics via subscription or digitally in the UK?" I think we've already discussed that.
Yes, they are available in the UK.
So the best website to go to is your Titan Comics one, or is there another better place to get the comic from itself?
I mean, so they will be available through comic stores next Wednesday. So the best place is if you've got a local comic store in your town, you can check it out there. There's actually, I'm trying to remember the actual URL. It does work internationally. The 1888 comic book, or I think it's findacomicbookstore.com. It's run by Diamond, but it allows you to put in your zip code or postcode and find the nearest comic store to you. And of course, if you've got a Forbidden Planet near you, there's an exclusive Forbidden Planet cover there as well. So definitely check that out if you have one.
So do you have any Doctor Who stuff out already, or is this the first one?
Yeah,
you guys?
This is the debut. So this is the perfect jumping on point for anybody, and this is our big mission statement about what we'll be doing on these two series as well.
And Gallifrey Gamer here asks, thank you for your question. He says, if the current Doctor Who comics do extremely well, would you consider a classic comic book featuring some of the previous Doctors?
Yes, we will. We sort of announced when we...
Good luck getting Tom Baker to sign on.
We did make... we made an announcement when we first got the comics that we'll be looking into doing miniseries with the past Doctors as well. So if you have preferences as to which particular Doctors you would like to see, please get in touch. Obviously, it's all dependent on BBC approvals and that kind of thing, but we do have sort of pitches out with various creators to do miniseries on past Doctors. But we'll be announcing more specifics of those. I don't know if it'll be at San Diego, possibly at New York Comic Con this October.
Ooh, Comic Con, cool. This is one of the very few disadvantages of living in the UK is the hot weather that I can't cope with, but also that all the very, very important Comic Con seems to happen stateside.
Although we do support some fantastic Comic Cons in the UK as well. So
where are you?
I'm in London.
Ah, fellow Brit, fantastic. I'm up in Watford.
Hello, I'm down south in Sydenham.
Ah, very cool. Matthias has asked, can German readers get them delivered to their store, or would it be better to order them digitally? I mean, you've kind of mentioned they can get it from a store, or they can get it digitally. I mean, do you think there's a better method, or there's just different? methods?
It depends whether. We can ship to other countries, but we do ship direct from our subscription. Our current subscription house is in the US, so it can be quite prohibitively expensive to get it to Europe at the moment. We hopefully switch to a second distributor soon. If your comic store in Germany supports Diamond deliveries, as I know many of them do in Europe when they get the US format comics, so if you see your sort of, your Batmans, your Spider-Mans, your Image Comics, your Marvel DC, if they stock those, they can probably stock our comics as well. So give them a shout and say, order them in for me.
Do you find obviously this is the first one you guys are coming out. I mean, how nerve-wracking is it making something for such a kind of loved franchise, and and especially because Whovians can be pretty stroppy, as you know, and pretty snooty. I mean, how nervous are you about the reception? Well, I mean, the Whovians are lovely, but they know their stuff. They expect quality products. I mean, how nervous are you about the reception to your comic?
Not particularly nervous. I mean, if the fans know how many hours and how much blood, sweat, and tears has gone into making these the absolute best they can be, they'll probably ask for a little bit more. But we've put a lot of hours into these comics, and there's been a lot of love. I mean, everybody involved in this is a huge fan of each era of Who.
Yeah. Which is a great starting point.
So it has to pass our sniff test, if nothing else. So the number of people in house who read the scripts and comment on them even before they go out to the BBC, who desperate to be tantalized with every new piece of art that comes in. So it's something I care deeply about. It's something that everybody in Titan cares deeply about. So I hope that some of that care and love comes across on the page, and that readers can see how much effort that we're putting in.
I'm sure it will. Susan, do you want to just go through the kind of the joint promo that you guys have got going together and how that works and things?
Yeah, Andrew, how much can I say, since I know the press release hasn't quite gone live yet, so I have to...
Or not a lot. No, there will be a promo.
You know what? I guess why don't we make it the AdiposeTV exclusive for everybody who's on board? So I mean, there'll be more details coming, and obviously the art will be a surprise to go with the release. So. Yes,
exactly. So it is okay to say a little bit, or?
Yeah, let's chat about it.
Yeah, I didn't want to get you in trouble, So we've been talking about this for weeks now. We've known this is coming. The comic book series is series, plurals, just series, right? And series, and we're really excited about it. We love the art these guys are doing, and what we said is it would fit, perfectly into what we do with Doctor Who Legacy. So, so Titan's been nice enough to supply us with art for the new allies and enemies.
Oh right, so does that mean the characters will be in a slightly different art style?
They will. They will. We actually thought it'd be cooler to keep them in the comic book art style.
I agree.
Yeah, so so you'll be able to have the new allies in your team, and when the comic books come out, they're actually going to have a link to a landing page where you can get the promo codes for that, so that you can get them for free. And what we're going to look to do, like sort of soon after the comic book launch, is we're going to actually have levels built around the stuff going on in the comic books.
That's very,
Which is pretty damn cool, isn't it?
So I can read the comic and then I can play the adventure.
Exactly.
Love that idea.
Yeah. So it's something really really new and unusual that we're doing. We're trying to. It's one of those things. We have the fact that we have all the old stuff that we still want to get to, the 50 years of Doctor Who. We have the new stuff, which we can't talk about yet, but we'll hope to talk about soon. And then we have the expanded universe stuff, and this is really leading the charge of that. And everyone knows that we've also been interested in doing stuff with Big Finish, and there's a lot of mutual respect between us and Big Finish. And there are even other things that we're talking about doing. So, the sky's the limit. We want to encompass all that is Doctor Who.
Absolutely, and I do. It's been amazing, how many kind of different Whovian sections you kind of managed to kind of get together, and because we've had a reasonable amount on the show with with various kind of blogs, we've had various kind of websites, we've got these lovely kind of lovely comic book people here now as well, and so it's lovely to kind of see everyone kind of working together, all with their own kind of interests, but collaborating as well, which is great.
Yeah, it's one. I mean, Leo will come on later, and so I'm sure he'd love to talk about this more. But from a creative standpoint, one of the things that Lee's always believed in and has really tried to, it's been like this underlying thing we've pushed towards the last few years in game design that we've been working on, has been how can we tell story by extrapolating the idea of the conflict, right? Like Doctor Who didn't make sense as a shooter. One of the reasons that we made the game that we did was Doctor Who feels puzzly. We wanted it to be something that uses your brain, not uses a gun. And so from that, we're like, okay, so how do we extrapolate conflict, be it actual combat, be it a puzzle you have to deal with, or whatever else? How do we make that something accessible, not really violent, and that allows us to sort of push story forward? And so that's something that I think everyone has seen in the last 6 months since launch that we're doing more and more of. When we went live, no one really knew how it was going to go, so we had to really prove to the BBC that we could show the same care that they do. And so when we launched, there really wasn't a lot of story, and we had some pushback for that. And as you've seen since then, we've done an incredible amount of story, probably more than most mobile games out there, and we continue to do more and more of that. And so that's just something we really love about what we've built, is that we can use this framework for telling narrative.
And Andrew, how do you guys find writing for the Doctor? Is he a difficult character to write for because he isn't like your generic superhero that uses violence or guns and things like that, or is it just different and is more kind of strategic?
Well, I think the thing is that a lot of the writers, especially the ones on our launch series, so Nick Abatzis, Al Ewing, and Rob Williams, they have the Doctor in their blood. I mean, they've grown up from the Third Doctor, Fourth Doctor, and on. So in some ways, when you've got that many in Doctor Who stories sort of rattling around in your brain, you sort of internalize his voice and the way he speaks and acts, and
I can hear the Doctor.
Exactly, yeah. But he is a very interesting heroic paradigm. It's one of the ones where the Doctor as a character doesn't really change. There are different facets of him that come to life light between different incarnations and through different stories. But it's this thing where, at the core, his being was crystallized the moment he ran away from Gallifrey and stole the TARDIS, and that, never cruel nor cowardly. There's some fantastic, mythic stuff in his both origin and all the stories that have come since. So he's a fantastic character to write for, and it's always good to have writers writing up to a very clever character. And it's also very interesting when a very clever character sort of falls flat on his face and does something very stupid, which is often what the Doctor does, and then tries and digs himself out with, either a sonic screwdriver or just, whatever's rattling around in his alien synapses at any given time. So it's a challenge, but it's a pleasant challenge to not just have something that devolves into punching or shooting. Not that there's no violence or laser guns in a Doctor Who thing, but the fact that he doesn't wield those weapons himself, but it's he stands there with his two hearts in his brain in front of people who want to do his companions harm is inspirational and really fun to write to.
And obviously, I don't want you to please don't give away too many plot details. But can we expect any classic enemies in the 2 series you've got coming out, or is that something that's hush hush?
Oh no! So the watchword really is new. So the majority of villains, monsters, and places we go to will be, very fresh, very new. We're not digging over too much ground. But the writer who's coming on board for both the 12th Doctor series, and he's coming on board for 5 issues on the 10th Doctor between 6 and 10, he pitched us a sort of one line featuring some very classic foes, and people who've kept up with the previews solicitations may know who they are, but we just couldn't say no. It was too good to pass up. And that pitch was the Weeping Angels in the trenches of World War One. The story is the Weeping Angels of Mons. So there's a myth of the trenches of the Angels of Mons, which is sort of, an angelic host appeared on one of the worst days of the battle and sort of whisked soldiers away to safety. But there's so much resonant imagery in that, especially given the anniversary year that it is, the centenary, that it just felt like the perfect time to revisit that period and visit it with the Angels in tow. But obviously that'll be with Gabriella alongside the 10th Doctor, so an entirely new experience.
Awesome.
Were you tempted at all to go with the existing companions? Obviously, you've given a fantastic reason not to use the existing companions, because it means you can, we don't know how their stories will begin and end, which is great. But was there a little bit of temptation to kind of go, oh, I'd love to put Rose in this, or I'd love to put Donna in this?
There's always a temptation because they're such great characters and they have such a huge fan base. So, I mean, from my perspective, I'd love to do sort of maybe some extended one-shots set within the period of the show when those companions are around. But that's the sort of, you're celebrating that period, you're revisiting it for a new and unseen story, but it's tricky when you know the beginning, middle, and end of those characters to develop the drama. So that's that's the main reason we've gone with new companions. But yeah, I mean, all of the companions across the series I have a real soft spot for, and I can see the delights in each of them. So it'd be lovely to revisit, but it would be for a sort of special occasion rather than anything to do with the ongoing.
Have you guys, Susan, ever thought about, as you said, you put more plotline into your game than most mobile games. Have you guys ever thought about putting in your own characters or attempting to go down that route?
It's it is something that we've thought about at various points. Actually, I don't know if we've ever mentioned this, but one of the things that we've thought about doing. It's a little bit weird, and it's sort of been backburnered because there's so many things on our plate right now. But we kind of like the idea of letting you as the character, because remember the way the game starts is you're sort of hiding behind a trash bin. Remember when
yes, I thought that because the Doctor addresses you, but he only does it in that first scene, and
exactly,
he doesn't speak to you after that point.
So we've kind of thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could sort of personify you in the game and have maybe a male version and a female version of the quote player.
Yeah,
and
that would be cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be really neat. And so it's sort of been out there. I think we mentioned it to the BBC. I don't think we ever really put much energy behind it because there were so many other things to do. Because we had to figure out what they look like, and Lee and I both worked on Grand Theft Auto back in the day, and that was always one of the things in GTA.
But sorry, Andrew, she loves to name drop that.
I knew you were going to say that. But if you played GTA 1 back in the day, before it was a 3D game, there were like 4 characters that you could pick from. It was like Ulrika and a few others. And but then as soon as it went to 3D, they went away from that, and there was the character, and that was always sort of the conflict, was you kind of want to be yourself as opposed to being some other character. And it was one of the things I liked about the first GTA was the fact that you got to pick between who you were. But as soon as they got into tight story, they had to get away from that.
The more you kind of want the character involved, the less you can have freedom with that character.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it'd be kind of cool if we put in a female player, and that player could be one of your allies, and they could have slide-ons, saying stuff like that'd be kind of neat. So I would still like to explore doing something like that.
So Andrew, you said you've been working for Titan Comics for quite a while. What other series have you been involved with?
Well, I started off when I came to the comics department doing lots of UK newsstand licensed stuff. So Star Wars: The Clone Wars comic, which had a really nice short strip in there. Things like DreamWorks Tales was actually where I got my start originating strip quite a while ago now. More recently, things like creator-owned series like Death Sentence, Chronos Commandos. I've been in the room while my fellow editors have edited such brilliant series like Number Cruncher and It Came. But if you have a browse around our Titan Comics website, you can see some of the cool stuff that we've got, and it's all available now for digital download. and a lot of the books are also available for purchasers' books because they're collected now.
Absolutely. So, guys, that link, which is at the top of the screen there, Titan Comics, is where you can find Andrew's work. Now, I was just looking through the links you pasted me earlier. You said that the Doctor Who comic is out next week, but I noticed you posted me a link to say that you can pre-order it right now. Is that right?
So you can pre-order the digital version right now. You can order it from, I mean, there are so many links in terms of individual retailers that we could put on who have pre-orders open. So if you've got, say, you know, in the US, Midtown Comics has an exclusive cover and that kind of thing. We've done quite a lot of retailer variants. And in the UK, obviously, Forbidden Planet, I'll push you towards them as they're part of us. But, you know, we have such a wide base of fantastic retailers in the UK. We don't want to show too much favoritism, even though Forbidden Planet are, you know, 3 floors down from us in the building.
There's 2 links that Andrew sent me earlier that I just put into the chat there from Comixology. But if you've got any other links you'd like me to post in, just let me know and I'll stick them up.
I'll have a look. Yes. If you're in the US, by the way, if you change that co.uk to .com, you'll get to the US site for it's exactly the same. The rest of the URL. Yeah.
Cool. So you can pre-order it right now. So you mentioned, obviously, because we've been on for a while now. We've got over just below under 400 people in the chat. So it's great to see you guys here. So some of you may not have been here at the beginning of the show. So can you just give us a very quick summary again of what the comic is about, or maybe a quick synopsis of the plot or something like that?
Okay. So there are 2 comics. 10th Doctor #1. Shall I give you the creative teams on those? I'd love to name drop the actual people involved.
Do you want to say hi to your mum as well? If you want to, go ahead.
Just such fantastic guys and girls. So Nick Abadzis is the writer on the 10th Doctor, with art from Elena Casagrande, colours from Ariana Florian, and then the fantastic lettering team of Richard Starkings and Jimmy Betancourt from Comicraft there. And on the 11th Doctor team, Al Ewing and Rob Williams are the co-writers of the whole series on that one, with art on the first issue from Simon Fraser, with colours by Gary Caldwell, and the Comicraft team are lettering that as well. So those are the fantastic teams. They've all got, you know, Twitters and Facebooks and blogs and stuff. You can check them out. And
do the stories have very different styles of artwork then, as they kind of have slightly different teams kind of working on them, or is there kind of like a consistent
The one thing we don't have is a sort of Doctor Who house style. We want consistency between each series, but we also wanted each series to sort of reflect the era that it's representing. So the 10th Doctor is very much the Russell T Davies Doctor Who, and the 11th Doctor is very much the Stephen Moffat Doctor Who. So that boils down to even in terms of the companions. So Gabriela Gonzalez has a, you know, rich and complicated family life, which is very important to her story. But when we join Alice Obafune, the new companion on the 11th Doctor series, she's just lost her mother and is about to be kicked out of her apartment. So things are really down for her. So the Doctor sort of brings a wave of colour back into her life. And for Gabriella, it's an opportunity to potentially escape where she's trapped herself. She's quite an artistic soul, but her father really wants her to take over the family business of a restaurant and laundromat in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. So there's a lot of rich backstory for those. We get to know the new companions in quite some detail. The 11th Doctor series and the 10th Doctor series, they both sort of move at different paces as well. The last thing we wanted was for people picking up 2 issues on the same day to feel that they'd seen sort of 2 sides of the same story. So the 10th Doctor series is a little more decompressed to give you that, you know, the catch up on a lot of different characters. So the first story there is a 3-parter. So if you imagine this is the first sort of 17.5 minutes of a fantastic Doctor Who episode, that's what you'll be getting the first issue. And
how regularly do they come out? Like, if I bought the first one, how long do I wait for the next one?
So it's a month between the first and the second, and then it's 3 weeks after that for the first sort of 5. So there's 15 issues a year on both series. So it's more than monthly at the beginning, so that you really get into the characters and into the swing of things before it switches back to monthly for the rest of the year.
Okay, well, guys, I hope that whet your appetite for a spot of Doctor Who comic. Thank you so much to Andrew for joining us today. I hope you've had a bit of fun.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Just looking through see if there's any more questions here. Tanim asks if there's any chance Titan will do another Torchwood comic. Does that mean you've done one in the past?
We used to have the rights for the Torchwood magazine around Series 2, I think. Like the fantastic Doctor Who magazine, we did a short comic in each episode that we then collected for the US market. So we don't currently have the rights for Torchwood. It's sort of a separate license, but it is something that we'd be interested in doing in the future.
Cool. Hope that answers your question, Tanim. Harry the Whovian has said, will you be able to order the comic and get it in the post? I think we've already answered that, Harry.
Subscriptions online.
Good. What else have we got here? There's various questions that we've already answered. Will the 12th Doctor ever get a comic?
Yes, it's coming out in October, so the first issue is solicited now. And like the other two issues, the first issue has a fantastic cover by Alice X. Zhang. So check that out. I mean, if you do a quick Google for the 12th Doctor #1, it should pop up. And it's on our website as well. If you go there, it's up on the top left, I think, on the homepage. So yeah, I can't really say much about that at the moment because, as we know, the 12th Doctor series is shrouded in secrecy, but it's going to be amazing. The creative team on that, Robbie Morrison's doing the writing, Dave Taylor, who's known for 2000 AD and just did a fantastic issue of Prophet at Image, is doing the art on that one. I've just seen some of his character designs for the first issue today, and they're amazing. So very sort of Mobius influenced. It's going to be a great sci-fi comic.
Just taken this stream across to my desktop, so I've just visited Titan Comics there, so you can see the Capaldi artwork there, just in the left-hand corner. And if you want to see it in a bit more detail, of course, guys, you can head over here yourself if you'd like to find out more. So thank you so much for joining us today, Andrew, and taking time out of your schedule. If guys in the chat, if you could pass some thank you Andrew's way as he and for joining us here tonight. Are you guys finished with the comics that are coming out next week, or is there some last minute tweaks you guys are still let to do?
These went to print about a month and a half ago, so it's a crazy old schedule. So we're just putting the finishing touches to the issue 2s at the moment, which they're not both coming out on the same day from then on, so they sort of separate by 2 weeks, so there's time in between them.
So just a little bit more space then. Okay, guys. So thank you. So thank you so much for joining us, Andrew. We will keep in touch with the comics, and I look forward to reading it next week.
Hope you enjoy. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Chat soon.
Bye.
Bye.